Warning, stay 4 to 6 feet away from me. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the ASOTV podcast for Containment, Season 1, maybe the only season, Episode 1, Pilot. I'm your host, Dom. With me, we have Mike and Nikki.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
So, brand new show.
Brand new show.
What do you guys think of it?
Has promise.
It has lots of potential. I mean, it came out at a time where it could be compared to something that a lot of people have been doing lately.
What's that?
Playing The Division.
I see no similarities at all.
Oh, no? No, not at all?
Zero. Not even like this big red quarantine section.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely not. That has nothing, no.
No.
Where we see day 13 is what it opened with.
Yes.
13 days after the outbreak. Said, circle quarantine contained area has been turned into a free-for-all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
So it's kind of crazy. It's. I don't want to say it's based on the division because it's not the case. This was based on a TV series called Cordon, which more or less is the same show, except instead of it being a Syrian immigrant, it was an Afghan immigrant. That's really the big difference between the two. I'm sure there's a lot more, as it goes through, and I'm sure a lot of the characters and everything are different, but the premise, is more or less the exact same. As far as I know, Cordon did get a second season. I believe it's actually filming right now. So it is possible that this will go into further seasons if it does well. It's been billed as a limited event series, which this year alone, not on the CW, but we've seen Heroes Reborn went with the same format. They chose not to go with another season. The ratings weren't that great with it, so that could be why. If this is something that's really popular and gives CW incredible ratings, I can definitely see a second season out of it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it is, it's, the premise is very similar to, like, a Walking Dead, like, an outbreak, and people really, really like that kind of suspense and like, the thrills and the gore, because, let's be honest, I wasn't expecting it to be gory.
No?
And it kind of was. It caught me off guard a couple times. I don't usually jump or cringe with things like that, but it caught me a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see if they expend whatever they have here and they have no more, they can do this in another town.
Oh, yeah.
This took place in Atlanta, Georgia, and they could just be like, oh, San Diego, California, here you go, this is what happened, Los Angeles, anything that,
What I find really odd is that they are at the center of disease control. I mean, the CDC is in Atlanta, and things are just going off the wall crazy. They don't have a handle on it.
Right.
If it were taking place in somewhere else, I'm not going to use New York as an example because that's going back to the video game The Division again. Like you said, San Diego, if Atlanta can't control this, there's no way in hell San Diego's going to. They wouldn't have put that barrier up. That whole city would have been gone in 13
Right,
days.
but that's also because they were unprepared for it. Keep that in mind. Like, the CDC is prepared to an extent, but for known viruses, they're prepared. Not for something like this, where they've never seen anything like it before. Fatality rate in 100% of the victims. They had, the patient 0 just, wandered in, coughed on a pen, and, walked out. He didn't even cough on the pen.
He was just
He just
sweating.
handled it, yeah.
He touched the pen.
Touched it.
Yeah.
He didn't die as fast as the doctor that got the first case from him, though.
No.
He hung on a little bit longer. And you would think the doctor, being around sickness all the time, working where she worked, she would have a little bit more of an immunity.
unless it mutated, unless it accelerated already, because they did say it was a mutated strand. They did mention that.
Of the avian flu.
Avian flu.
Yeah, of avian flu that could never be transmitted through humans at all, ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was only a bird that could pass it on, but then it mutated, and now humans can pass it on. They can contract it, and then,
which means that humans have no immunity to it at all.
Right.
I mean, viral immunity works. You have to actually catch the virus or be given, a vaccine, a dead version of the virus, for your body to build up antibodies for it. If you don't have those antibodies, you just gotta hope your body figures it out before the virus kills you. Which in 99% of cases, even more, actually, probably bigger number than that, happens. Because our immune system is actually really fucking good.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting because when we find patient 0, we find out he's an illegal Syrian immigrant, and he was actually carrying a vial of the pathogen.
Yeah. They made it seem like he was just, he just wanted to escape from the bull crap that was going on back home, and
that, I think, is the case. I think they're making it seem like it's something more than that, and I don't think it is. I think he legitimately jumped the border, smuggled himself onto a cargo plane. I think somebody planted it on him.
Yeah, somebody. I was gonna ask. You think someone planted it?
Because you saw the way his family and everything reacted, and they're like, he just had a cold.
It was just a bad cold.
Yeah. So really his family wasn't in on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless he was acting solo and didn't tell them, but I don't know. And I've seen all kinds of stuff going around already, being like, Julie Plec is a Donald Trump supporter because this is clearly to show that immigrants are bad and we should board up the country and keep them out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Julie had nothing to do with deciding it's a Syrian immigrant or an immigrant of any kind. That's the story. She's writing the story. She's showing the story the way, it was written. This is not an original series that she wrote. This isn't an adaptation, So,
yeah.
It's people are so ignorant. I cannot believe. And this is coming from, reputable places that do reviews and stuff around the internet.
That's just silly.
I don't see any reason for politics involved in this whatsoever. There's no need for it.
It's just a show, guys and girls. Come on.
People are gonna find something to bitch about.
Oh, of course. It's the way it always has been. Just hearing about that, I got a headache.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know that in 13 days, there's panicking, rioting, shooting, many people sick. So we can assume that it was not contained.
Oh, we already know it wasn't contained.
But I'm curious how much of it is contained in the containment zone. I wonder how much of it got out past.
Well,
I mean,
probably not much.
All it takes is for one of the sick people to go to the fence and go achoo on the fence, and someone to be trying to look in at that exact same spot to see if they have a family member there. And there you go. It's passed. It's there.
And, I mean, yeah, little things. They haven't mentioned if it's airborne or anything like that yet.
No, just through fluids, they said.
But there's, that whole 4 to 6 feet is, it's not really for airborne. That's just, the distance the average human can sneeze.
Right.
So.
So I guess let's go through some of the characters. Okay. Because that's always a good thing to do in new series. Alex, or better known as Lex, he's basically the face of the Containment Initiative.
I like him a lot.
Do you?
I do like him a lot. I mean, he's put in this situation. He has to be a hard ass. He has to do what he's doing because it's his job. But you see him as a human before we even know that he works for the police department as he's a what is he? I can't remember. He's a cop, but what
he's high up.
He's
they call him major.
Right? Yeah. So before we even saw that, we saw him interacting with his girlfriend, and he was just a really sincere guy.
See, and that is what ruined it for me, was the interactions with his girlfriend.
Really?
Yeah. Because he sat there for the entire first half of the show just blowing up her phone and getting all mad at her because she had cold feet. Like, it's not a reason to be, like, pissed off at someone.
It wasn't the first time.
It doesn't matter. Like, you'd be like, okay, you're not ready? Well, then leave. Like, I don't know. It was just, it was showing me he has a short temper, and I don't like that.
Well, I mean,
I was getting really aggravated with him. I was like, I don't even want to watch him anymore. Like, just, I wish he got the virus already. Like, that's how I felt.
Well, I mean, he did loosen up later on.
He did,
you know, when he had that conversation with the young guy with his girlfriend, his pregnant girlfriend, inside the containment, he's just like, you have to just, sit down. You have to chill out. We gotta work through this together, because this is not just on you. It's not just on your girlfriend. It's on all of us. And he's, he really calmed him down and set him straight. And it was more or less that interaction where he consoled this kid.
Well, yeah, that was we're talking about Xander, right?
Yes.
Which
was Teresa's boyfriend, but we'll get to Teresa in a minute. But I think it was even just before that, right? When Jaina basically had the conversation with him on the phone and was like, "No, I'm gonna move in." That's kind of what put him back on track and focused him. And he's like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." And then we see her trying to get there, and the fence is up, and he sees her and he's yelling to her. She's got the earbuds in. She turns away, and that's when he meets Xander. So I think it was more the conversation with Jaina that kind of smoothed him out. But like, he just seems too off the handle for me to be flipping out at her like that. So I had a hard time trying to like the guy after all that.
I mean, I'm comparing him to some of the other characters where I'm like, Teresa's mother. I wanted to punch her in the face. I wanted to punch Dr. Sabine in the face.
What's wrong with Dr. Sabine?
I wanted to punch that arrogant bitch in the face the second I saw her.
Okay. I think it was you who pointed it out, Dom, where she walks in the room and Lex goes to shake her hand, and she's like, "I'm not touching you. You understand?" He's like, "Yeah." Then she walks up to the podium where the other guy was basically making out with the podium, and she grabs onto it and starts talking. It's like, wait a second. Didn't you just refuse to shake a hand?
You
just...
Yeah.
She just seems really full of herself. And I know she's up there high in the...
I think she has every right to be, though. Like, you're in a position like that, and you've seen all kinds of... She listed basically every major outbreak except for Ebola, like, that she had been involved in. And I'm sure she was even involved in Ebola, too, at this point, because, why the fuck not? But she's seen it all, and she understands people don't know how to follow protocol, and you get aggravated. Like, Mike, you're a mechanic, right?
Yes.
So, like, if you have been fixing cars and stuff all your life, and then somebody tells you, "Oh, you got to do this. You got to do it that way," you're not going to take too kindly to that. You're going to be kind of arrogant about the way you treat that person after that. Okay, exactly. So, that's my point. You're dealing with this, and disease everybody thinks they know, and especially something like this, when she comes in and they don't know anything about it. It has a 100% fatality rate, and it's rapidly killing. It killed that doctor. She wasn't quite dead at that point, but she practically was. Her eyes were yellow. She was coughing up blood, like,
in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
16
so
hours.
she's got a reason to be arrogant.
Well, I mean,
nobody's gonna listen.
Nobody knew what it was when she walked in the room, but as soon as she could have been a little bit more... It wasn't even just then when I started not liking her. It was the interaction with her and Lex.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she met with him privately in the park, she just had this like high and mighty sense about her, and he's just like, I want to know what's going on. She's like, well, you're not gonna know, but you're still going to represent everybody and just be the face and keep everybody calm. That's what you're gonna do.
Right, and I mean that's what I liked about Lex was that his integrity. He was keeping that in check, but I was having a hard time balancing that with everything that was going on his girlfriend, and he's understanding about that, but he wants to be transparent about everything else, and it's like, be transparent with your own life. Like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. It was aggravating me. So I was more focused on hating Lex at that point, so I guess I let Dr. Sabine slide because of that, because I was so agitated at Lex. But
maybe.
What did you guys think about Jaina? Like, besides her having cold feet, she was clearly working somewhere with hazmat suit and decontainment units, and I don't know exactly what she was doing, but
I mean, I thought she was some sort of, super IT person, but, she gets in that suit and she walks in, it's just like, wait, what?
You would wear a suit like that in a clean room, in an IT environment.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah, certain, microchips and basically sensitive electronics, you go into a static-free, dust-free clean room, so none of that shit gets in there. And you would wear a suit exactly like she was wearing, with, usually just throw on a dust mask or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was thinking about, like, the containment, like, working with, like, viruses and stuff and bacteria, but then I noticed she wasn't wearing any gloves, so I had to figure, I kind of ran it through my head, like, she's not working with anything like the contagion or the pathogen.
Right.
She's working with something electronical, but I don't know why she had to wear the suit. But I guess that makes sense now, because I do remember, like, putting together the computers and, making sure that everything was static free and laying down rubber and, making sure that we were grounded and there was, I understand now.
Yeah, I went to an extreme. I'm a little paranoid about that, but I mean, for like building the components in a computer, you would want to take the precautions she was taking.
Yeah, I know people that do that building their computers, like installing a hard drive.
Yeah, it's a
I don't.
safety precaution because
I walk with socks across a carpeted floor holding the hard drive. I don't care.
A static discharge can be tens of thousands of volts, and so it's it sucks.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see that much of her. I mean, we saw her having her breakdown when she was in the very beginning of the episode trying to move in with her boyfriend, Lex, and, she obviously has issues there. Did she say what it was, or just that she has high anxiety or something? She said a form of doubt or something like that. I'm doubting something.
Little doubts come up.
But we saw her at the beginning of the episode where she was all like, she seems like she has panic attacks. Right?
Yeah.
She was sweating, she's nervous, and it's not because she had the pathogen. That was not the case. No. She had no contact with she wasn't even anywhere near that place.
I thought she was first.
Right.
But.
So it's basically she was just suffering from panic attacks. And I get that. And if Lex understood what panic attacks were, he wouldn't have reacted the way he did. And that's what really agitates me, because he's supposed to be a high-ranking officer for police or whatever he is, and I don't know, just really agitated me. But then we see Teresa. She's the pregnant girl. Her boyfriend is Xander, the one that was talking to Lex when the fence was put up. And she wants to run away with Xander, but her mother's like, no, you're gonna put that child up for adoption.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't look like she's underage or anything, so I don't see why the mom is so adamant about that. Like, it's like she's taking control of Teresa, because, I mean, boy, oh boy, I could tell stories, but I'm not going to, because that's just not part of the show. It's part of my life, and I'd like to keep that under wraps.
Okay, then. Thanks for bringing it up.
But I'm saying that I have problems with her mom because she's so controlling.
Right.
Because she's meddling in things that is not her business. Yes, Teresa's her daughter, but
I mean, it's her daughter, and parents get that way when they're like, we're still supplying a roof over your head, and if you want to live here, this is how you have to do. And parents can be very controlling over their kids and very, I want to say, manipulative over their kids. Like, the kids will do whatever their parents say without question.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it takes something like this for them to snap and be like, well, I'm running away because there's clearly no other solution to this problem. So I don't think she's underage, but I don't think she's like 21 or anything like that. Seems like she's probably about 18, if I had to guess.
She's young. That's
17, 18. So probably still like too young to be off on her own. She's probably still in high school kind of thing, you know?
We didn't really find that much out. So.
We didn't, but right. She was working with her mom, and she was working in the middle of the afternoon, so unless this was a weekend, which I don't remember if they even said a day.
Well, no, because the bus full of children and the teachers.
Yeah, they were on a field trip though, so.
I mean, yeah, these field trips can happen on.
Yeah, I've gone to field trips on the weekend before for school, so it's hard to say. I'm gonna assume this was in the middle of the week though, so she probably just graduated high school if I had to make a guess.
I'd give it that guess.
Then we had the actor Chris Wood, who played Kai in the Vampire Diaries. His character was Jake. Yeah.
Dom has been full mast, like completely, totally erect, waiting for this character. You know, for this. Well, I went there. I'm sorry, Dom, but you know, the last 3 or 4 times, like, hey, Mike, are you doing Containment? Are you gonna do Containment? I'm like, yeah. What was Containment?
I have to cover my lap up right now.
The guy who played Kai, and I'm just every time you mention the show, you mention that Kai is in it from the Vampire Diaries.
Because
and I'm like,
Kai was phenomenal, and Chris Wood made Kai, and just knowing that he was going to be in Containment, because we want him to come back as Kai. We really, 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 really do.
So different character-wise.
Not really. When he lost his temper in the hospital, I was like,
yes.
Whew.
Ooh, it's Kai again. Hello.
Yeah.
Actually, I did that a couple times during the episode, but hey.
He is a phenomenal actor, and right. I'm gonna be completely honest. He's the reason why I am watching the show. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have even given the show a shot. To be completely honest.
To hear that Julie Plec was part of it, that kind of interested me. But knowing that Chris Wood was going to definitely be in it and he plays a prominent role is really what reeled me in.
Yeah.
Right, and as it did for me too. That was kind of the hook for me. I'm like, oh, man, he did a really good job in Vampire Diaries.
And knowing that you've watched the Vampire Diaries, that's why I kept saying Kai's gonna be in it. So it's some kind of like hook to be like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So yeah, I loved his character except for the stupidity of let me just put my face mask down and not have an actual mask because there's all this air that can come up from underneath. Like that was my only gripe with everything there. Yeah, it's like he knew going in that he had a mission from CDC to go in and grab patient 0 of something, and you're not going to go in with better protection.
I mean, the face shield for this type of virus, and I did a lot of research on this because I was curious, how close to reality they were sticking. The only way the flu can spread airborne is if someone sneezes in your vicinity and you inhale an aerosolized droplet of their snot. Sounds disgusting. It happens more often than you think it happens if someone sneezes around you.
Yeah.
But, that is the only real, airborne way to catch the flu. So if someone sneezes in your face and you're wearing a face shield, you're pretty good as long as you don't touch it.
Pretty good.
It was still
pretty
silly.
Good's not good enough.
No.
It was still really silly. He was in the hospital where patient 0 died, where all these other, victims had died to it. Clearly there's masks and gloves and everything all around. There's just put one on. It takes 2 seconds.
I know.
It was silly. And then, he's mad because he had contact with You can't be mad like that.
I'm sorry. If he survives this season, like, illness-free, I'm just going to be screaming bullshit. Because, yeah, you're right. This episode, he had how many, like, moments where it's like, oh, you totally caught it there. Or if you didn't catch it there, you caught it there. Oh, yeah, he's definitely sick now. Dead man walking here.
Well, we see Victor Kannertz, who the doctor that ends up coming down with it by the end of it, and he's like, he's coughing, sneezing, whatever, right in front of Chris Wood, like right at the end. I need to get in the habit of calling him Jake. I can't keep calling him Kai and Chris Wood because nobody will know what the hell we're talking about. But Jake, and every time that I remember seeing Victor Kannertz, he's been like in isolation on the TV, like reporting stuff, or he's had the face mask on. And he still got it.
He was working with the virus, like in a petri dish kind of like such situation, like that was his environment. He was trying to, like, I mean, can't be completely safe when you're working with that stuff all the time. I mean, you can take every precaution and, you know, you're just not safe. That job has a lot of risks.
I mean, you saw the guys working with patient zero trying to, inject medication into him, and he like ripped their face mask off and stuff like that. Oh. Like, if you know how bad it is, why are you going in with like the cheap hazmat suit? Like, go in with the full-on hazmat suit that's like one piece.
The big yellow one.
Yeah, like the radiation suit. Like go in with that. You don't go in with something that the guy can swipe at your face and you're now exposed. Like,
I think at that point they didn't expect patient zero. Sakim was his name, I think.
I believe so.
I don't want to go there, but like I don't want to guess because I mean they kept calling him patient zero, so that's all I really remember, but I don't think they expected him to get violent.
No, but still, you don't take any risks of a virus like this. The doctor already died at this point. The girl who played Chloe from Stargate Universe, she was already dead. Already dead. And you don't fuck around with that. Like, if my job was to go inject that guy and you're giving me a suit that's like just a couple layers of cloth that I'm putting over with a mask, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. You get me.
Kind of like the one guy who walked out and Chris and Katie were like, we need to get in there. And he's like, nah. And she's like...
You mean Jake. Jake and Katie.
You started it.
I'm trying to fix it.
I know. But yeah, he was like, I don't need this shit. He threw his ID at Katie like, here, fine, go in there. I'm not dealing with this crap anymore. I'm gone.
Yeah.
It's like, they don't pay me enough for this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally we had Katie, which is the teacher / single mother.
I don't think she's a single mother. I think she has a partner at home.
She very much appears to be a single mother.
At this point, but like, she was on the phone a couple times, and I mean, she was talking to
it was the principal.
The parents and the principal, but there was the first phone call I think I seen her on. It seemed like she was very much talking to a partner.
Maybe.
I
don't know. It seemed like her and Jake were ready to get it on there. No swapping fluids, guys. You got to stay 4 to 6 feet.
4 to 6 feet. Oh god, I'm just gonna be walking around telling that to people. It's just like, you stay 4 to 6 feet away.
Yeah, just go on the New York subway and tell people that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck. And that's another scary thing. One single person who's infected gets loose on a bus or a subway or any crowded mass transit.
I mean, we saw all the mass transit stop. They shut it all down. So
that is a big fear, especially with extremely contagious and, in this sense, like, fictionally deadly viruses. Yeah, that's the big fear. Someone slips the net, they're sick, they get on a bus, they get on a train, they get somewhere, where they can't be really traced. Well, suddenly, you got 20 more people sick who go off on their own merry 20 different paths, and boom, whole city dies.
Didn't the Ebola scare that we just had recently, like within the last couple of years, didn't somebody get on a plane?
Yes. The thing with Ebola, though, is wasn't. Yeah, if you got someone's bodily fluids in you, you could get infected, but it wasn't nearly as, I guess you could say virulent is the term. Transmissible.
Yeah, but it still had a pretty significant fatality rate.
Well, in most Ebola outbreaks have always happened in Africa or in places with not, either A, good hygiene, or B, access to modern medical facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So in those areas, 90% mortality rate, which is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're saying that this is like crazy fictional. This is more in a reality sense than, say, the other show I watched with crazy diseases.
Helix.
That was just out of this world. Not gonna ever happen.
I mean, but the fear is genetic manipulation, especially now that the technology is advanced. Kind of someone getting a virus, playing around with it, making it, the Division sort of scenario. In that they got their hands on smallpox, they made it more transmissible and incubate faster, and boom, and they made people contagious while
during incubation, yeah,
which smallpox isn't, and so boom, bam, pandemic, something that people aren't immune to. When I was researching before we did this show, the worst flu is H5N1, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that has about a 50% mortality rate, even in the developed world.
Swine flu, right?
It's one of the flus. I forget which one. The thing with that one is...
I think it's swine flu.
The issue with that flu is it's really difficult to transmit. I can't even say the issue. That's the saving grace of that flu.
Yeah, H1N1 is swine flu.
From what I was reading, most flus, they take, they get in your nose, they get in your throat, your upper respiratory tract. H5N1 is deep in your lungs. It's really difficult for you to cough that mucus out and spread it. So, I mean...
H5N1 is the avian bird flu. So
right,
it's basically the mutated strand of this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the deadliest one that can infect humans right now. And they're saying, the big fear is it's only, airborne transmissibility and all that other stuff can happen in only a few mutations. And it's like, oh, great, thank you for making me paranoid about people sneezing around me.
Mm-hmm.
And only a few mutations, which is why bioterrorism is a scary, thing on their radar.
Yeah, and what's interesting is this is so different from the typical CW show.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It really is a completely different feeling.
Yep. Like CW has had, vampires, superheroes, and One Tree Hill.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
This is much, much different.
Yeah, it's a lot less fiction than we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, most of their stuff has to do with superheroes or supernatural things, like werewolves and vampires. So, for this, it's just like that's why I kind of compared it to another fictional thing, which is The Walking Dead. It has the same kind of feeling like that, except it's real. An outbreak like this could happen.
It really could. That's the scary part. I think, though, with a little foresight, if they took this series and instead of putting it in Atlanta, threw it in New York and renamed the show The Division, it would have had way much more ratings, and they wouldn't have had to change very much of the plot.
The Division, they could still, Ubisoft is, as much as I'm holding the vomit back in my throat because of the Ubisoft. But anyways, they could do a TV series, like a prequel to the game, to show us the outbreak.
Yeah.
They could do that.
They could just do this.
The story is there.
Yeah.
The game has a really in-depth story for a shooting game, which usually doesn't happen in a lot of senses. Call of Duty has done it a little bit, but
not to this extent.
Not to this extent at all.
No, but for the the Division, story wise, he the guy infected a bunch of dollar bills with the smallpox virus and just started spreading them around on Black Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, this one, a single patient, Syrian patient, whoever did this had really, really high hopes for their virus.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the guy in the division, he had, there were thousands of patient zeros.
See, and I'm almost thinking what's going to go on with the vial is that somebody is trying to frame Syria to start a war.
Possible.
So I don't think Syria is even involved with the actual pathogen to begin with.
I almost think it's an inside job that America's trying to start its own shit. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's possible. I mean, I'm not. Stop. Play the division, you'll find out.
You guys have anything else?
I thought they were going the rabies route, to be perfectly honest. Is my last thought. Because, it was like, in the end, it's like, the last couple hours before death, they were, practiced for layman's terms, rabid. I'm thinking, well, rabies is the only real virus with a 100% mortality rate.
I mean, you take a look at them. Like, we saw Dr. Saunders. Is that what was her name? That was
I think so.
Right? You saw her deteriorate, and that would make anybody lose their mind and go rabid in this sense. Who knows how much of their brain was dying at that point?
I mean, they'll probably find some kind of cure or treatment or, the whole issue right now I see them coming up with is it kills too quickly. 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But apparently they have to be contained for 48 hours. That's when you know that you're free of the virus. And next week's episode is called I to Die, You to Live, which takes place during that 48-hour period. While Lex attempts to maintain control outside of the Cordon. Haha, see? Because that's the name of the series. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He learns that a young man who had close contact with an infected patient is unaccounted for. Who do you think that is? Who do you think that is, Jake?
He learns that a young woman.
It's a young woman.
Oh. Never mind. Jake's not a woman. That he said a young man. Young woman who had the infected patient is unaccounted for. So it could be Katie.
Could be Katie. It could be Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are young people that we've met so far.
Mm-hmm. With limited resources available, Lex is forced to enlist help from Jake, who is growing resentment toward Lex for getting him trapped inside, and is causing him to spiral. Elsewhere, Katie attempts to keep it together as she keeps a watchful eye for her students, while Teresa is devastated to learn that her friends may have been exposed to the virus. Finally, Jaina, who has learned that her best friend Suzy is also trapped inside the Cordon, rations to their limited food as they wait out the 48-hour quarantine.
Okay.
Seems interesting.
At least it's 48 hours. Ebola was 21 days.
Yeah, that's true.
They thought you were exposed to that. You were, you 3 weeks. Have fun.
Yep.
There was a video that I watched where I think Don was watching it as well at one point. They actually talked to a good portion of the cast, saying, they were talking about the timeline, and so they're like asking, is it a day an episode or things like no, but it's not a very long timeline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's kind of convenient, though, that this is going to be a 12 or 13 episode miniseries, and we see day 13 with the rioting and panicking, and the first episode took place on day 1, the second episode is taking place day 2. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they're going to jump around, but I feel like the episodes are going to kind of follow that. Mm-hmm. That's the impression I have right now, anyway. But despite what the cast said, I think we're going to kind of see just small increments like that with significant chunks of going into the past or the future, like we did this episode. So
I also wanted to point out that Teresa's grandpa works in the hospital with the lab rats. He was with the kids.
I didn't realize that was Teresa's grandfather. Yeah. Now that you mention it, yep. Yeah, and that whole scene when they were cutting back and forth when they were on the phones and they were like cutting in and like you see him walking into the room with the kids. Like I don't think he was in that room on the phone. I think that was just the way the episode was transitioning between scenes and
he was on the phone with her at one point.
Yeah. So. No, but I mean when he was on the phone, but I don't think he was in the room with the kids when he was on the phone, even though he walked into that room and was on the phone. I think that's just the way that they stylized the transitions. So, but yeah, it's kind of cool because those transitions looked a little weird to me. Something felt out of place, so I feel like they weren't actually there. But I don't know. I guess that's our first impressions. So,
I mean, we worked it out. Like, I mean, we didn't really talk much about Katie. She did seem like hyper paranoid and all that stuff. But I mean, we just met her. She was already in a stressful situation.
She's very determined to keep an eye out on her kid. So you got to give her that much. Yeah. She's a good parent. So I don't know. We will definitely be learning more about these characters as time goes on.
I'm actually super excited.
Yeah, this really good series so far.
Honestly, I went into the series with no expectations because. The only hyping I got from it was from Dom, which wasn't really a lot. It wasn't like, oh my god, been waiting 6 months for this show, holy shit, or anything. There have been a lot of, virus, zombie, apocalypse, alien, whatever kind of these disaster movies in the past few years. So or movies, shows, whatever. So I'm just like, go into this and expect nothing.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I actually want to watch, the next few episodes.
Yeah.
And they'll have to do something utterly stupid to get me to not watch this whole season.
I mean, it's going to be a short season. It's going to be 12 or 13 episodes, limited event series. So we'll see. They got me. I'm hooked.
So far, I'm hooked too.
That basketball scene with Chris Wood, with Jake in his black tank, sold me.
Mike, where can the people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Diligent, right there. Over here. Wait, there we go. It's over here.
Okay. Nikki, where can the people find you pining over Chris Wood in basketball shorts?
on Twitter at LadyVenom24, LadyYvenom24.
You can find me down below at Phenomenon, PHENOMEDOM. You can find us all on Facebook, Gmail, G+, Twitter, and right here on YouTube at /ASOTV podcast for some more podcasts for some of your favorite TV shows, games, and movies. Till next week. Yeah, next week. See you guys later.
Bye.
MySpace.
Rest in peace.
MySpace. Guys, you might want to stay 4 to 6 feet.
Yeah, I already do that.
46 feet? Okay.